Have you ever had that moment where someone you trusted just didn't show up? Not with an apology, not with a reason, just silence. And suddenly, everything you thought about them shifts. Maybe it was a neighbor, an old friend, even a close family member. They seemed like a good person, said all the right things, but when it really counted, they were gone. That kind of moment, when someone you counted on lets you down, lingers in a way that's hard to shake, especially as we get older, because as the years pass, our priorities begin to shift. We start to value peace over performance, sincerity over sparkle, and one truth becomes crystal clear: charm fades, but character endures. In your 50s, 60s, and beyond, time feels more precious. The noise of the world begins to quiet. And in that stillness, we start to see people for who they really are, not for how they shine in a room, but for how they stand by us when the spotlight is gone. At this stage in life, you don't need people who dazzle. You need the ones who knock gently, sit with you when life feels heavy, and keep their word even when it's inconvenient. Whether it's a partner, a caregiver, a grown child, or an old friend, the real question becomes, can I truly count on this person? But here's what most people miss when trying to answer that question. They focus on what someone says, on first impressions, on charisma. But those things fade, they're performances. And performances end. The truth, what really matters, shows up in the small, almost invisible moments, the ones most people overlook. And here's the good news. There are two subtle but powerful signs that consistently reveal someone's true character. Once you know what to look for, you'll start seeing them everywhere, in conversations, in behavior, even in how people treat strangers. By the end of this video, you won't just understand people better, you'll trust yourself more. You'll have quiet tools to protect your peace, your energy, and your heart. If you're over 50 and your relationships matter now more than ever, share your story in the comments. Type truth if you've ever had to reevaluate someone you thought you could count on. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is your space for grounded wisdom, emotional clarity, and real-life tools. To help you thrive in this season of life, let's begin with the first sign. It's simple, but deeply revealing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you want to know who someone really is, watch how they treat someone with no power, no status, nothing to offer them. Because when there's nothing to gain, the mask slips and the truth steps forward. Let me tell you what happened to Mark, because it changed the way he sees people forever. Mark, now 62, shared something with me recently that still sticks with him. He was having lunch with a man he'd known for years, a friend from his old workplace. The guy was smart, well-spoken, always made a strong first impression, but halfway through lunch, the waiter got Mark's order wrong. No big deal, right? Easy to fix. But then everything shifted. The man's tone turned sharp, cold, dismissive, even cruel. He didn't just mention the mistake. He belittled the waiter, made a show of being inconvenienced, spoke to him like he was beneath him. Mark said, "It was like I saw behind the curtain. I realized if that's how he treats someone who can't do anything for him, what would he do to me if I ever became inconvenient?" That moment changed everything. Psychologists have a name for this: status-based empathy. It means the less power someone has, the more clearly your compassion or lack of it is revealed. Why? Because we stop performing when we think someone doesn't matter, and that's when our real patterns come out. Behavioral science backs this up. Those small, ordinary interactions, they're often more honest than how someone acts in formal settings. So think about it. Do they smile at the cashier or stay glued to their phone? Do they hold the door for the janitor or pretend they don't see them? Do they say thank you to the person bringing their coffee or act like it's just expected? These micro behaviors are windows into emotional maturity. Lisa, 58, told me a story about her mother's long-term caregiver. She wasn't flashy, Lisa said, didn't say much, but I noticed how she spoke to my mom when no one else was around. Softly, respectfully, like she was still a whole person, not just a patient. That caregiver became like family, not because of what she said, but because of how she showed up consistently, patiently, and with grace. People who treat the most overlooked with quiet kindness. They're often the ones you can rely on most. So here's a simple gut check you can use anytime. When you're getting to know someone, maybe a new friend, a potential partner, even someone you're thinking about hiring, ask yourself, how do they treat the invisible people? Do they lead with respect or with entitlement? Are they kind, even when no one's watching? Do they give without needing recognition? You don't need to test them, just watch. Because character whispers. It doesn't need to shout. And if you're brave enough, turn the question inward. How do I treat the ones who can't offer me anything in return? That's where your own growth begins. That's where real relationships deepen from a place of empathy, not expectation. Now let's talk about the second sign, because this one reveals even more than words ever could. It's all about how someone handles their promises, especially when life gets messy, because it's easy to show up when things are smooth. But what about when they aren't? Lisa, now 58, shared a story with me about a time when she really needed someone to show up. She had just lost her job. She was getting ready to move out of her apartment. Everything felt uncertain, chaotic. A close friend, someone she'd known for over 20 years, promised to help. Moving day came. Lisa waited and waited. No knock at the door, no text, no call, not even a follow-up the next day. She didn't. Just feel disappointed. She felt invisible, and then she said something that stuck with me. I wasn't upset because she missed it. I was upset because she didn't value the promise enough to explain. I realized I meant less to her than her comfort. And just like that, a 20-year friendship quietly faded. We often tell ourselves that broken promises are just forgetfulness or busyness, but from a psychological perspective, they run much deeper. Researchers like Brené Brown and Carl Jung have found that when someone consistently follows through, it builds emotional trust, not just in them, but in the relationship itself. And when they don't, it chips away at that trust, quietly, subtly, until one day we stop reaching out. Even the small things matter. I'll call you back tomorrow. I'll be there at 4. Let's grab lunch next week. When those little promises go unkept again and again, we stop believing. And often, we start shrinking. Mark, now 62, has a personal rule. I only trust the people who keep their small promises, because if they can't handle the easy stuff, how will they ever show up when it's hard? After years running his own construction company, Mark stopped hiring based on charm and started hiring based on consistency. The guy who called back when he said he would, the one who followed through without needing a reminder, that was the person Mark trusted with the big jobs. So if you're wondering whether someone is truly reliable before you invest your time, energy, or emotions, watch for these signs. Do they show up on time or make excuses? When they forget something, do they own it or deflect it? Are their actions aligned with their words even when no one's watching? And most importantly, when they can't follow through, do they tell you the truth? It's not about being perfect. It's about being accountable. Now take a moment to reflect. Are you keeping the promises you make to others? And maybe, even more importantly, are you keeping the ones you've made to yourself? Like, I'll start walking every morning. I won't say yes to things that drain me. I'll finally protect my peace and set boundaries. Because when you honor those quiet commitments, you don't just build better relationships, you build trust in yourself. And that is where real confidence begins. If this resonated with you, share your experience in the comments. Have you ever discovered someone's true reliability or unreliability through a broken promise? What did it teach you? And if you're on a journey to build a life filled with emotionally safe, consistent, and respectful relationships, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe for more grounded wisdom, real stories, and tools to help you thrive in this season of life. Because you deserve more than words. You deserve people who follow through, and that starts with recognizing the ones who do and becoming one yourself. Thanks for being here.